Prepare yourself, it's going to be a rant. I'm very angry about this. Good evening and welcome back, ladies, gents and Pikachus. Today I would like to add to my earlier statements about false prophets, false teachings, false gospels, the absolute nutters out there spreading all this complete garbage, telling you that this rubbish is the reason you should believe on Jesus, linking false doctrines to this beautiful piece of lovely truth given to us by Jesus. Now, I am going to say some things that are going to upset you, but I would ask that you listen till the end. I'm going to mention some people that you probably like who are famous or popular YouTubers or something, and I'm going to criticise them for giving you false gospels and linking it to this, because it annoys me and it's wrong. I'm also going to say some things that might upset you personally. Please listen till the end, then make your mind up. That's how we should do truth, listening to people. So, I had the misfortune today of being told that one of my friends had watched a video by a Mr. Chuck Missler. Chuck Missler is a Bible study researcher guy, does videos. I think he's actually, the channel's run by someone else now, but his videos are still live. They still testament that these things are true. One of the things that they say is, and this is actually true for people who know this is nonsense straight away, bear with me, this is the, nearly swore there, this is the nonsense that they're trying to push as proof that the Bible and God is true, right? If you take the Old Testament, the Torah, and you throw away 98% of it in this certain way, what you are left with is a new book. Very, very short book, but a new book, and this is the actual real secret teachings of the Torah, this one you'll be left with, and the method they use is this. Start with the text of Genesis, throw away the first 49 letters, retain the 50th letter. Throw away the next 49 letters, retain the 100th letter, and you keep doing that until you get to the end of the book. So you do Genesis 1, you do Genesis 2, for some reason you miss out Genesis 3, then you do Genesis 4, 5, all the rest of it. And the sentence you're going to be left with is what Chuck Missler's video says, and his evidence for this, he cites rabbis. He says 16th century rabbis believed this, you should believe it, and this is the thing that proves God. Now, I did this myself. This is why I'm going to get angry talking about this. I did this myself. It took me a long time to do it. I got a text of Genesis. I cut away 49 letters, kept the 50th one. Cut away another 49, kept the 100th one. Cut away 49, kept the 150th letter. And I did that continuously until the end. Guess what I was left with? An absolute garbage, nonsensical load of rubbish that didn't mean anything. And I did it left to right. I did it right to left. I did it up to down, down to up. I did it with the titles, without the titles. I did it with punctuation, without punctuation. I did it with the page numbers. I did all the possible connotations that you could physically do of that. It took me 2 days, or all of last night and all of today I've been doing that. I conclusively documented my evidence on paper, sent it to my friend and said, right, this is false. Here's the evidence. Sorry, mate, it just is. What did he say to me? You've done it wrong. And I was scratching my head. I was thinking, look, brother, as much as I love you, you haven't done any of this work. How fucking dare you say that to me and not even bother to read it? You haven't done any of this, or you'd know this was true. You have not studied the Bible. You have not read this Old Testament thing. You have not physically deducted 49 letters and then been left with a 50th, deducted another 49, been left with 100s. And by the way, if you take 49 letters and then another 49 letters out of 100 letters, you're left with 2 out of 100. That means you are throwing away 98% of your Old Testament, and then the bit you're left with, which is a gobbledygook nonsense sentence, apparently this is the true teaching of the Bible. Not the 100% thing that we are given by God. We're throwing away 98% of God's message, God's wisdom, and the 2% we are left with is literally load of rubbish. But apparently that's the true teachings. So says Chuck Missler and his 16th century rabbi. Well, guess what? I had a little look at this 16th century rabbi. He's heretical to the Jews. They hated this guy. He wasn't buried in the resting place of the righteous where all the other good rabbis get buried. No, he was buried somewhere else in a little plain box, a blue box with a tiny little headstone. Like, they didn't care about this guy at all. They hated him. He wasn't even a real rabbi. He was a Kabbalah rabbi who was responsible for ministering in Turkey, and he was from Syria. Yet he calls himself an Israeli rabbi. Now, I ask you, if someone is calling themselves an Israel rabbi, preaching the Old Testament, but their big discovery that proves God to be real is throwing away 98% of the Old Testament. Does this sound legitimate? Considering this guy is from Syria and lives in Turkey, or lived in Turkey, and when he died, Israel was not interested in recovering his body like they would any other legitimate rabbi. They have a place called the Grave of the Righteous where they bury all the rabbis near to a synagogue facing east. This guy's buried in a random plot somewhere in Syria. So why are people who claim to be Christian, who claim to be preaching the gospel truth for Jesus, why are they spreading this noxious crap and telling people not only is it true, it's equally as true as this, and it's the reason why you know God to be true? Because think about it like this. These false doctrines and preachers, these videos and websites and these stupid books that people are buying, the truth is Christ, or christistheking.com, all these fake nonsense gospels which are not the truth. After you have spent the money and the time to obtain these things and read them, would you still believe them if the following day the creator had a new website that said, actually, all my old stuff's completely wrong, I retract everything I said, I found a new secret, now I have a website saying Gnosticism is the true Christ, please buy my book? Would you drop everything and disbelieve that because they retracted it and then go and buy the new one? And if you did, would you still believe in God? Because apparently that's the only thing that proves God to you, is that. And this doesn't prove God to you. God doesn't prove God to you. The thing that proves God to you is a website that was written in 2012 by a complete stranger who you have to buy the book for to understand. And when you physically test his theory on paper like I did, guess what you come out with? Fucking nonsense. Excuse my Francais. You come out with garbage. Yet this is being linked as of equal value and truth as this gospel and God. So, the conclusion of this video, before it gets too long and I just get too stressed out with it, is this. Please, understand. Jesus tells us personally in Revelations 2 and 3. These false teachers and their false doctrines, they are liars. That is a quote from Jesus. These false Jews and their doctrines, they are liars, says Jesus. And they are of the synagogue of Satan. They will lead us to hell, away from God. We should ignore them and we should not like them. We should certainly not repeat these things. I shouldn't even have to say this. People have this book. It is not the easiest book in the world, granted, but it is God's wisdom. We are puny, crappy little humans with puny little crappy human minds. Like, we're fairly intelligent compared to monkeys and fish and squirrels and everything else. But compared to God, we are lacking. That is why this book exists and why it is not a little kiddie's book that's going to be easy to read. You have to put the time in. If you're one of these people who thinks you can sit there and have hours and hours of TikToks and other videos and little website videos and YouTubes and stuff going in one ear and out the other, then after watching like 7 hours of YouTube while you're sitting there munching your popcorn, if you think that is equal to this, and the conclusion that you will come to without doing any study, without writing a single word or reading a single word, just listening to a load of false preachers, if you think in your head that is going to lead you to God, then I got news for you, buddy. The only thing you're leading yourself to is to sniffing your own rear end. Your nose is going to be right up there, sniffing your own farts, thinking you're so goddamn clever because you are following a bunch of false preachers with pretty words, nice, enthusiastic, friendly characters and humorous jokes. They're entertainers. They are not gospel preachers. And if you take one thing from this video, I want you to take this. This is the only place you will find God's truth. Chuck Missler is nonsense. JP, Sig, Sam Shamoon, Francis Bull, Jono, even Christian Prince, any of these guys, Jay Dyer, they are all full of crap. They are sniffing their own farts, bumping up their own ego, looking to make a buck or get popular for the sake of their own egomania. None of those guys have got truth. And me, I'm sitting here ranting to you to tell you they don't have truth. I don't have truth either. I'm just a human. None of us have truth, but guess who does? Jesus has truth, so read it in here, pray to him for clarity, and he will tell you what is true and what is not. Based on this, you can check him out. Everything else is absolute garbage. Doctrines written by churches are garbage. Videos written by celebrities are garbage. Websites written by false preachers are garbage. 16th century Kabbalah rabbis are garbage. Chuck Missler, JP and Jono are garbage. Christian Prince on the whole is good, but most of the stuff he's going to say is supported by human garbage. There's only one guy you can trust when it comes to God, and that is God. He proves himself, he demonstrates his own divinity, he does not need or rely on any of this stuff, and if that is the stuff that makes you believe in God, when it falls apart, which it will, so will your belief, and that means you don't believe on Jesus. So I advise you, and I would beg you, get back to basics. Read the Bible. Pray sincerely to Jesus Christ, you yourself, and really have a good think. What is it that you really believe and why? Because if you are following people who have to ask those questions to themselves and only follow money and popularity or progression for their channel or popularity for their book, monetary earthly rewards, you're leading yourself to Satan. And in 3 weeks' time, you're going to find out exactly how that's going to affect you. And believe me, brother, it ain't going to be pretty for you. So heed the warning, read, pray, and you'll be saved. Anything else is absolute garbage. So, that's the end of this video. Hope you enjoyed that and you learned something. God bless you all, and I'll see you in the next one. See you in the next one. Remember when you were young, how many of your friends wanted to be a Christian preacher? I will wager that it was 0. So keep that in mind when you're seeing dozens of famous quote-unquote preachers making money and being popular. Are they real or false?